The Paul Leslie Hour, helping people tell their stories. And now, your host, Paul Leslie.
Hey, it's me. How are you, friend? It's a great honor to have you listening to the Paul Leslie Hour. I am glad you're here. On this episode, I'm going to be playing my interview with Jeff Bridges. This was my first so-called celebrity interview. Jeff Bridges is a very talented fellow, an actor, singer, songwriter, guitarist, photographer, sculptor, producer. On top of all that, a very sweet guy. You're going to hear in this interview I sounded so much younger. Well, it was a long time ago. There's maybe a bit of innocence in a way. Maybe naivete is a better word. The original recording was, well, it was not fabulous in the audio quality, but thanks to the efforts and talent of Kevin Hooper, a great friend of this show and of me, it's been digitally remastered. It now sounds great. I hope you all enjoy listening to the Jeff Bridges interview, and if you'd like to help me in my mission, and that is getting more than 16 years of interviews out there and into the world, all the while doing new interviews, you can go to patreon.com/The Paul Leslie Hour. Let's get into the interview.
Very cool. How's it going out in California?
Going well.
Cool. Before we start the interview, is there anything in particular you want to... I have some questions, of course, but is there anything in particular you want to touch on that I didn't mention?
Not too much, I don't think, no.
Okay.
When will this air? Or when will it,
probably in about 2 weeks.
Uh-huh. Okay. And how long is it on there?
It'll probably air 4 or 5 times.
Oh, great. And what's the, how do you get to the station?
www.radiomargaritaville.com. www.radiomargaritaville.com.
Radio...
And there's a link to it.
Margarita. A-R...
M-A-R-G-A-R...
G-A-R... I-T-A... Ville. V-I-L-L-E.
That's right. There's also a link to it from the Mailboat Records page.
Oh, well, but this is radiomargarita.com?
That's right, yeah.
.com. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're ready to rip.
Cool. All right. All right, 1 second. A big time after Island time aloha to Mr. Jeff Bridges. I'm sitting here with my assistant, Mr. Jeff Jolly Falana Pike.
Hey there, Paul and Jeff. Aloha, boy.
All right. A lot of the listeners are aware of your films, but some might be surprised to find out that you're a songwriter and a musician, and you have a very incomparable album called Be Here Soon.
That's right.
So, how did you get this passion for music?
Well, gosh, I can't remember not loving it. I remember my brother back in the, I guess it was the very early 60s, maybe late 50s, got a white Dan Electro guitar. And I kind of took it over and started playing on it. And, the great thing about the guitar is you can kind of teach yourself, the chords are just pictures of where you put your fingers. So I had a ball, looking up tunes that I liked and trying to play them and that kind of thing. And then I started to write music with the knowledge of the chords that I learned. I just started to kind of make up songs and stuff, and that really took off. And I started doing that more than playing other people's songs.
So, speaking kind of in that same vein, you said you were looking up songs you liked. What kind of music did you grow up with, and what do you listen to now?
Well, my brother Bo, he's 8 years older than I am, and so, he was, when he was a young teenager, he was experiencing really the birth of rock and roll with Little Richard and Chuck Berry and Elvis and all those guys. And so I, of course, looked up to my older brother, and I got involved with all that early rock and roll music. And then, as I became a teenager, started to, it was the English invasion, the British invasion with the Beatles and all the great Brit groups, and that was a wonderful time to be involved in music. It was just so rich, the San Francisco scene, and it was just a wonderful time to be a musician and listen to music. And it was also kind of the birth of FM radio during those days. It's kind of a shame now you go on the radio and it's all clear channel, and you really don't hear the DJ's taste in the music. But back in those days, you had FM, and you could get these wonderful long sessions of DJs turning you on to all kinds of great music. And I guess nowadays the internet's going to do that for us.
Oh man! So what do you listen to now?
Oh gee, I listen to all kinds of stuff. From all kind of the old jazz kind of standards. I'm a big Bill Evans fan, but I love Captain Beefheart. I'm listening to a lot of this fella lately, Hal Gelb. I don't know if you know this guy.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, fella, Mitch Cullen, a friend of mine, turned me on to this guy, Hal Gelb, and I like his music a lot. And I'm a big fan of Tom Waits. One of my favorite albums last year was an album called Wicked Grin. I don't know if you're hip to that album. But,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Hammond album.
Oh, yeah.
God, wasn't that cool?
Yeah.
Do you like that? Is that your style?
Well, it was Jeff, my partner, Jeff Pike. He turned me on to... it's kind of a...
Wait, you mean Tom?
Yeah, Tom Waits.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, and then John Hammond is a great guitar player, and this album, Wicked Grin, is an album that Tom produced, and it's all Tom songs, but sung by John Hammond. I thought it was really great.
All right. The title of the album, Be Here Soon, comes from the song Movin', some of the lyrics, which we played on a past episode. So tell us about Movin' and why you chose Be Here Soon as the title.
Well, Be Here Soon is sort of a takeoff on that great Ram Dass book, Be Here Now. And I don't really claim to be any kind of guru or anything, and I'm not quite as evolved to be here now, but I said, well, be here soon. And, of course, that's kind of a oxymoronic statement, because if you're already here, how can you be here soon? You'll be, by saying you're here. I don't know. It's a kind of a tricky, screwed up title. But Movin' is a kind of a reggae-ish number, and just about how I move through life, I suppose.
Right on.
And I guess the Be Here Soon title also refers to this fact that I've been involved in music most of my life, and it's taken me a very, very long time to kind of get anything out to the public, concerning my music. And I'm just really happy about the fact that my music has kind of stayed on the back burner and simmered back there. And while I'm doing the acting deal, I've kept my music alive, which is I'm really happy about, because as you get older and you stop doing the things that you love, you find out that you don't do it. You don't accomplish some of your dreams. And I've been fortunate to be surrounded by some great friends who also play music and write songs and sing, and those guys have kept me at it and kept me involved.
The cool thing about this album is a lot of it is not what I would have. It's not what I would have expected. Take for instance, Picture Frame. It kind of has a country feel to it.
Oh yeah, right.
So how did you get the inspiration for that?
Let me see here. I'm turning to it here. I've got the album and I'm looking at the thing. I kind of forget. Oh well, this is my taste in music is pretty eclectic, and we tried this when we recorded this song. We tried it a bunch of different ways, and this is kind of the version that ended up on the album. But we've done a lot of different versions of it, and it's basically. I guess it's about how you view the world, and how it's kind of up to you how you view it, and the world's the kind of world that you see there. It's up to you, and what are you going to do about it?
There was the lyrics on one of the songs just got me kind of puzzled, and that's I tried to piece it together, but that's Buddha and Christ at large. We got a sexual president. How did you decide on the title, and tell us a little bit about the song?
Well, this was written. I was making a movie. What the hell is the name of the movie? Oh, Arlington Road. And I remember I wrote it all kind of in one night. And during this time, it was, when Clinton was going through, having that fellatio performed on him in the Oval Office,
Yeah.
So that's where that first line comes from. But, surprise, surprise, we have a sexual president. I thought it was a great opportunity for us to kind of acknowledge our sexuality and how powerful that is in all of us. And we bury our sexuality. We don't talk too much about it. We're all kind of embarrassed about it. And he certainly was too. And but it's a driving force, And then it kind of just takes off from there. I mean, I'm just looking at the lyrics here along with you. But I guess the thought was, if Buddha and Christ actually hung out together, and what they might think about what's going on, and what kind of action they might take, and what other lines are mysterious to you?
Well, I guess a lot of it. There's that part, and then there was the other part about the black holes, stars, and planets being one single symbol.
Yeah, I guess that it has the whole duality thing, of separating. Good and bad, and righteousness and evil, and all these apparent opposite things are really just all part of the whole, and you really can't have one without the other. And there's a relationship that these things have together, and I think the song talks about. Let's look here at the lyrics here a little bit. Trying to look at that part that you say, Buddha and Christ, they met one day by the riverside and decided to join forces. Let all the bets ride. Put all their jewels in the pot. Let all the lights mingle. All the black holes, stars, and planets be one single symbol. I guess it's kind of like, if Buddha and Christ threw these, East and West notions of spirituality together, and it was all explode of a beautiful spiritual firework. I guess is the imagery I was going for.
Very pensive. There's a great band on the album, and there's some background vocals from some interesting people. How did David Crosby end up doing background vocals?
Well, all of the music is really, this album, the birth of it really was started by that earthquake in LA about 11 years ago. And it shook me and my family out of our home in Santa Monica, California. and we landed in Santa Barbara. And I was, for as long as I had a place, I've had some kind of little music set up, recording set up of some sort. And I was looking to turn a garage into a jam space and do some recording. And I called up just some local guy. I didn't know who he really was. I don't know where I got his phone number in the phone book or something, but an acoustic specialist. And it turned out to be this fellow, Chris Polonis, who is an award-winning acoustic engineer and a great musician and songwriter and singer himself. And we talked about the room a little bit, and then he said, so let's see some of your tunes. And I whipped out my pile of tunes, and we started to sing and play together. And he, liked them and said, hey, I got a buddy who might also like these things. You mind if I give them to him? And he said, I said, yeah, well, who is it? He said, Michael McDonald. And I said, oh, gosh, I'm a huge fan of Mike's. I'd be thrilled if he listened to the tunes. And so Chris sent him off to Mike, and Mike liked the stuff and came to L.A. not too long after that. And we all produced this album together. And Mike sings on it. And Chris sings on it, and Mike plays, his wonderful piano on it. And another one of our mutual friends, we all know David Crosby, who is a Santa Barbara guy. He's grown up in Santa Barbara, and so he came along and sang a backup with Mike on some tunes. So that was really a dream come true. You can imagine having Michael McDonald and David Crosby backing you up was really, really thrilling. And then we had a great rhythm section in Brian Zupnick, and our bass player, also, I'm spacing his name. 1 second, I'm going to get it here. All right, terrible. What happens to the mind? Let me see here. Todd Smith, of course, great. And they, unfortunately, Brian Zupnick is no longer with us, but he was a great drummer. And they got a really cool sound.
Speaking of the songs with Michael McDonald backing them, on one of the last episodes, we played She Lay Her Whip Down by John Goodwin.
Yeah.
And it's such a smoking song, and I was checking out his website, and I was telling him actually about this interview. He's real stoked about it.
Oh, good.
And you covered 3 of his songs, so
well, Johnny and I, we go back to the 4th grade together, and he's one of those guys that I was speaking about who's kept my music fires burning, because he's such a wonderful songwriter, and like you say, I included 3 of his songs on this album, and I just recently got through the Terry Gilliam movie up in Canada called Tideland. Terry Gilliam is the guy who directed The Fisher King and Brazil and a whole bunch of wonderful movies. And I get to play a rocker in that one, and I get to do one of Johnny's tunes in that. I submitted it, and Terry liked it, and so that was really exciting. Maybe I can slip you an advanced copy of that or something. You can spin it.
Yes, please. And for all the listeners at home, one of the places that they can get this album, other than Amazon.com, is on Jimmy Buffett's Mailboat Records label, and that's mailboatrecords.com. So could you tell us, how did you end up thinking this would be a good home for Jeff Bridges?
Well, it kind of... it happened in kind of a mysterious way to me. I didn't have too much to do with it. It's funny. The guy who was originally distributing Be Here Soon, and we formed a record label when we made this album with Chris, Michael McDonald, and myself, called Ramp Records. And Harold Solman at Chicago Records was a distributor for it, and then Jimmy bought up Chicago, and so here I'm back with my old friend Jimmy Buffett. Pretty cool.
And a lot of the listeners are familiar with a movie you did with him back in 1974, Rancho Deluxe.
Yes, that's a very special movie for me. not only did I meet Jimmy, but I met my wife, Sue, on that movie. She was working at a dude ranch there.
The dude.
The dude, that's right. And so, how appropriate.
Yeah.
She's working at my ranch, and I fell in love, and that's all she wrote.
Huh.
But I met, Jimmy, who's he's a good buddy of Tom McGuane's, who wrote the script for Rancho Deluxe. And I met Jimmy over at Tom's house, and remember, great evenings sitting around listening to Jimmy play. And I don't know if the listeners know this, but Jimmy was also in the movie Seabiscuit. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
No. He actually got cut out of the picture. They always cut the good parts, But that was probably the last time that I got to hang out with Jimmy, was on the set there. And we had a lot of fun.
I can imagine. One of the things I think is really important is everyone needs to know that some of the proceeds from the CD go to the End Hunger Network. I know it's something you feel strongly about. What compelled you, or what I should say, inspired you to feel the End Hunger Network was a good?
Well, the End Hunger Network was something that I helped found in '83. It's a nonprofit organization. We started out really paying attention to world hunger, because here in our own country we pretty much had it licked. There were government programs in place that were keeping it at bay, and then over the maybe 15 years ago or so, these safety nets weren't being funded properly, and so now hunger started to kind of resurface, and now we've got hunger here again. So we've refocused our energies to hunger here in America, and particularly children in America, because hunger affects them the most. There's the most damage to them, and so we work to raise awareness and resources to end childhood hunger. And also we advocate hunger programs and organizations in Washington as well, and lobby and that kind of thing. Right now we're putting most of our attention on school feeding programs, breakfast and lunch and summer programs, because a lot of people don't know this, but the government has funds that's available to schools to feed kids, breakfasts and lunches and all these and summer meals. But the schools need to have these programs in place, and a lot of schools don't know about this, and they think it's too much of a hassle to do it and that kind of thing. But kids need food to concentrate, to learn, and a kid who's hungry all through the day is not going to do well in school, and that affects all of us too.
Absolutely.
Society.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times, the kids who get fed at school, that's like their only meal for the day.
That's true.
I mean, according to the latest 2003 report from the Department of Agriculture and the Census Bureau there, I'm just reading it off here, some of these statistics. 11.2% of American households experienced food insecurity. And food insecurity is a term that they use to describe the widespread hunger, but it's not that we have here in America, but it's not like the hunger that you have in Africa. Here, food insecurity, it really has to do with the lack of access to food to meet the basic needs, and usually it has to do with kids who are living in poverty. And we've got about 34 million Americans who live in poverty. That's 12% of our population. Poverty, according to this census, is defined as the poverty line for a family of four is $18,400. So we've got 34 million people living below that. 12% of us. Just another statistic here. I know it's kind of boring to read them, but they're kind of shocking and they deserve to be heard. It says the bottom line is that hunger threatens 36 million Americans, including 13 million children. 18% of all American kids under the age of 18 are at risk of hunger. That's about 1 in 6.
Is there a website where people can find out more?
Yeah, there sure is. It's breakfastfirst.org.
Excellent.
Breakfastfirst.org. And they can also check out the End Hunger Network website, and that's endhunger.com.
All right. This is kind of a vastly different subject, but
Yay.
I understand you have a book out called Pictures by Jeff Bridges.
Right.
Let's hear a little bit about that.
Well, this is a book that I put out, I guess, last year, and it was a compilation of the photographs that I've taken on movie sets going back to Starman and King Kong around that time, about 30 years ago. And what I often do, I've done this maybe 20 or so times, is I'll make when I'm making a movie, I'll take photographs and make a small book as a gift for the cast and crew, give it out. And I use a quite unusual camera called a wide lux, and it's a panning still camera, so the lens actually pans, and you get a very elongated negative. And so last year I put out this gathering of all these different shots that I've taken up over the years in a book called Pictures. And I'm real happy with it. I thought it came out great. It should be available in bookstores or on Amazon. I think you can get it on Amazon.
And speaking of websites like Amazon, you have a website with lots of personality. It's one of the most interesting websites I've ever been on. So tell all the listeners how they can get in on the madness.
Jeff, what is it? JeffBridges.com.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. My memory, you forget things. Forget my own phone number sometimes. But I started the. It's funny. I started this website because as we were talking earlier, I was so excited about the album. I thought, gee, this is going to be a cinch to get on the radio. I got a little bit of fame. I could do all the talk shows and punch, publicize the thing, and then the radios will play it. Well, I went on the talk shows, did that part, but the radio, to break that thing is, very difficult. I mean, to get on the list, So I decided to create a website and sell the CD that way. And I started to have so much fun with just the idea of communicating to the world that way that I kind of got hooked on it and thought, oh, well, here's another canvas, another way to express myself and have some fun and get some feedback. And so it's kind of blossomed from there, I don't know where it'll go. I mean, eventually, I guess what I'd like to do is kind of what you guys are doing, have my own radio station and my own TV station, and just put right on one, shoot it out there.
Is there anything on the horizons as far as the music?
Well, this Friday night, I think we're taping this, so it's going to be past when people hear this. But there's a wonderful thing that I've never been to, but I'm looking forward to it, called the Lebowski Fest.
Oh yeah, I saw that on the web.
And this is the Lebowski Fest West. This is one in L.A. So I'm going to get on there and play a few tunes with Chris and some guys who got together, and there's going to be another band there, Peter Strohmeyer, the guy who plays the head nihilist, the guy who cut my Johnson off and throw the marmot in the tub. But he also happens to be the guy that they throw in the wood chipper in Fargo. He's got a band called Blonde from Fargo, I think it's called, and he's going to be playing there and talking about his new CD. And it should be, they're going to show the movie. It should be pretty fun. I don't know. We'll see. Cool. But I'm looking forward to playing.
Right on. And this show goes out all over the world, so here's a chance to let it all out, sort of like your website. What would you like to say to everyone listening?
Oh, gosh. Now, that's a question you'd like to prepare for, Paul.
I sent an email.
They probably put it in there, too. But see, I didn't do my homework enough here. God, the whole world's listening. Now, what do I have to say? Oh, my God. Well, I guess I'd like to invite everybody to be as kind as possible. How's that?
I like that.
Kindness, I remember hearing the Dalai Lama speak once, and he was saying, all religions are good. Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism. Well, Hinduism not so good. No, just kidding. He said. Then finally he said, it doesn't really matter what religion or what beliefs you have. Just the important thing is to be kind.
I agree.
That made a lot of sense to me. Kindness will take us far, I think.
That's right. Well, Mr. Bridges, it's been a lot of fun, and as
nice talking with you, Paul. Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, as Frank Zappa would say, it's been so stimulating. Thanks for being our special friend and neighbor on Time After Island Dime.
Great chatting with you.
Yeah.
The boop, bop, deep bop, a doodly, keep bop, doodly, shop, bop, a ding a daka. Ooh, no, I just get up, like a ponton, cook it to be, a zilla baka, some fucking donk, goodle, gone, the goodle, ba, boodle, bo. Goodbye.